Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the extra video for the Team Sonic Racing commentary. If you remember in the last part, we saw that despite there being extra tracks in the game, they didn't actually include all of those in the Grand Prix, so me doing a Grand Prix playthrough, that did mean that we missed a few. So what I'm going to do for us now is I'm going to go into the individual track section of local play, and we are going to show off the tracks that they didn't include. And for the sake of getting a bit of variety here, I'm going to do a standard race here, just to show off the regular game type. And so it also means that my teammates can't let me down this time, thank the Lord. So as you can see, they've divided up all the different areas. There's Planet Wisp, Seaside Hill, there's Glacier Land, which is Cool Edge. It's fucking Cool Edge. There's the Casino Park ones, which I don't like, as I mentioned. There's the Sandopolis ones, which I do like, as I mentioned. Got Rooftop Run. And what's this at the end here? This is Final Fortress from Sonic Heroes. And I have had my bitch about Heroes representation, but fuck it, I don't care here, because these tracks are pretty cool. So we've got Thunder Deck, Dark Arsenal, and Turbine Loop. And I'm going to go through these one at a time, and we'll just see what we can do. And for this part, I'm going to be playing as my boy Shadow the Hedgehog. Like, you didn't think you would get through a playthrough with me without getting some Shadow representation, did you? Because, like, Shadow, to this day, is still my favourite Sonic character. I'm happy to see him show up in anything that he shows up in, even if he does get a bit of a rough deal when it comes to voice acting these days. I think it's Kirk Thornton playing Shadow now, and like, he's not an awful voice actor. Like, he has done some roles I like. Like, I think it's him who's the boss in Catherine, which stands out to me as one of my favourite roles of his. But he's not Shadow the Hedgehog to me. And, like, I can't fault him for this. Like, he's doing the best he can as Shadow. I just think that he's a little bit miscast. Like, you probably could have got someone else to do Shadow and maybe got Kirk Thornton a role as someone else. I'm not entirely sure who he would play better or who would play Shadow better out of the current voice cast. But, like, I was always a fan of Jason Griffith's Shadow. Like, everyone remembers Griffith as Sonic, but to me, he was a really good Shadow. He did Shadow really well in Shadow the Hedgehog. And I feel like even more so than David Humphries did in Sonic Adventure 2. Like, David Humphries is a very good Shadow, don't get me wrong. But, like, comparing the two, I think I lean a little bit more in favour of Griffith. And Jason Griffith, obviously, he's become, like, quite well known within the, like, anime video game community. He's done a few other roles as well. He was one of the characters in the Lucario film. I forget who, because I think Sean Schemmel was Lucario, and I think Griffith was Sir Aaron, like Lucario's partner from, like, back in the day. And he was Cylon, I want to say, in the black and white dub, which Cylon, not the most interesting character ever, but he was a main character role. And then there's certain other Jason Griffith performances, like he was also Professor Pickle's assistant in Unleashed, where he was basically just doing his Sonic voice again, which kind of funny, honestly. I keep going to like pass items back to my teammates here, forgetting that I'm not in a team race. It's just like muscle memory at this point, so I was holding on to that cube wisp forever there. But the other role that I remember him as was the main guy in the show Casters, which was a show on YouTube, like a live action show that he played the main character in. And that was kind of fun. Like, I haven't watched it in a good few years now, but it was basically a story about these guys running a podcast, and it basically explores the relationship between these characters and them, like their day-to-day lives and relationships and whatnot. It's a pretty cool show. Like, again, I haven't watched it in years, but I remember it being pretty entertaining. And, like, in terms of these final levels, given we've actually got something new to talk about, like the end of the last part, I do like all of them. Like, there's one, and I can't remember which one, so we'll have to see it, that has a few awkward turns. But this particular track I like a lot. Great jump there, mate. But, like, again, Final Fortress, it's the representation from Heroes, and if it were just doing, you know, adapting the Heroes Final Fortress directly, then I probably would have been a bit disappointed. Like, they did that in the first game, and I think they also, yeah, they did also bring that back in All Stars Racing Transformed, and it was kind of dull. But what they've done here is that there's a lot more colour in these tracks. So it's not just your dark, grey, stormy aesthetic. Like, that's here, but it's not the entirety of it. You got the reds, you got a bit of blue going on, and even the black and yellow from the turrets. That's a lot more interesting than just directly adapting it. So I'm actually okay with having a Heroes representation here, despite my thoughts on Sonic Heroes. But yeah, came first overall there. On the whole, this mode is a lot easier than the, like, team mode. It's the team mode they're trying to push. It's why it's like Team Sonic Racing rather than just Sonic Racing or Sonic No Stars Racing Transformed. But yeah, like, it's a lot easier because you're not dependent on your teammates. But let's go into the Dark Arsenal track. And I'm gonna just stay Shadow throughout this whole part, just because why not, you know? So this track is a bit more by the numbers when it comes to its, like, dark, moody Final Fortress tone, but it still does deviate from Heroes a little bit, because whereas Heroes, we were basically on the outside of the fortress, this looks a lot more like an interior kind of thing. Like, you got the whole, I guess, like, cyber looking walls around us, and like, it must be a fucking huge part of Final Fortress to contain this track. I know, like, bringing the logistics of an Eggman, like, flying base into consideration in the current day is kind of fucking absurd. After we've had the entirety of Skydeck on the egg carrier somehow way back on the Dreamcast, like, to be considering that these days, like, you know, not the most original thing I can bring to the table, but hey. But, like, I'm thinking more and more, and like, seeing how cool these extra tracks are, and I just kind of wish they did integrate them into the Grand Prix. And the Grand Prix, like, it makes me wonder why they even bothered having that, like, fifth one. Like, why couldn't they just maybe add a few extra tracks onto the others, and like, I don't know, having, like, maybe just having a separate Grand Prix that you unlock when you beat the story, if you really want to not show off Final Fortress ahead of time. The other thing that I find bizarre is that there are actually mirror mode variants of all of these tracks. Like, every track in the game has a mirror mode variant. Some of them show up in the story, like when you do the Grand Prix that show up within the story that are mandatory to complete to pass on. But they don't show up in the Grand Prix mode. And you would think, like, if they're, like, have a structure where they need filler tracks, where they need to repeat tracks, at least, like, have some mirror ones, so it's at least slightly different. It's just such a weird decision to have repeat tracks show up in the first place. I don't know if any other major racing games do that, really. Like, Sonic Drift did, but Sonic Drift was also a fucking Game Gear game. We're not on the fucking Game Gear anymore. You don't have to restrict yourself like this. You have other tracks available in the game you could use. You just got to vary up a few lists along the way. No, Ridge, I'm not letting you overtake me. Get fucked. As soon as I started to sass her a little bit, like, she just fucking drove into one of the, like, Death Egg robot mech things. I'm not sure how to feel about the Death Egg robots being, like, mass manufactured now. Like, they're slightly different. Like, there may be shiny Death Egg robots, like that one we just driving past there is a black one rather than red, but they were the big intimidating boss at the end of Sonic 2. Now they're just, like, fucking everywhere. How the fuck did she overtake me? Get back here. That did nothing. Why am I losing to Rouge? Yeah, was that hers? I couldn't see whether she got twatted as well. It looks like she did. So maybe I have a chance. Let's try and do some shit with a ghost, maybe. I am really grasping at straws here. Yeah, I can't believe I haven't brought up the music yet. The song for this particular track is a remix of one of the final egg themes from Sonic Adventure, and it is a fucking cool remix. I love it. Again, another one of the tracks that I spoiled myself on when the leaks were coming out, and I was just like, again, it was a holy shit kind of moment. Like, this is really cool. I believe this one's the one called Crank That Heat Up. Like, I know there's a Crank That Heat Up and a Mechanical Resonance song from Final Egg. I think this is Crank That Heat Up, but I managed to overtake Rouge right at the end, so I'm satisfied there. I may have had to get a bit sneaky at the end, and by sneaky I mean lucky, but I still managed to win, so fuck you, Rouge. Can I keep the streak up? I kind of want to get a first now. Like, I'm kind of really motivated to get a first now to keep the streak going, but we'll have to see. Going on to Turbine Loop, the final race in the game. And again, gonna be Shadow. Let's motherfucking do this. So, this is the one that has the more wub-wub kind of arrangement of the Final Fortress theme from Heroes. I also like this a lot. Like, the whole wub kind of music, it's been growing on me a lot in more recent times, because I feel like when I first started hearing like dubstep stuff played a lot, it was very much the more mainstream kind of dubstep, where I feel like a lot of the songs have a structural problem in the fact that it's just a generic kind of techno thing because you're just waiting for the drop. Whereas when I hear more melodic approaches to dubstep, I appreciate it a lot more. Like, I feel it was Cash Cash starting to go into dubstep that made me appreciate it more. Because I think it was around 2012 when they changed their whole image and their sound up a lot, because they were doing like, you know, teen pop kind of stuff. If you think of their album Take It to the Floor, it was very much it is pop music. And then they kind of livened things up a little bit more with Love or Lust, but then it was around the time when they like were doing Sonic Generations and they started bringing that in, and then it started showing up in them like more mainstream music as well. And they did a few like random singles. I Like It Loud was one of the best examples of me of a really melodic dubstep song that I like. And they had Get You Fast from that same little release period, which was a lot heavier on the dub. And I think it was those two, and they also brought out the song Still Got It, which a bit more traditional Cash Cash. It's a little bit more dirty than their old stuff, but you know, it was a way of not completely alienating people. But you know, I feel it was Sonic Generations that was their first kind of dip into that kind of music. I want to fucking hit silver here. My aim is not good, as you can probably tell. So yeah, I've grown to like wub-wub music a lot more than I did. And I feel like I've been getting over my musical elitism a lot over the years, at least the last couple of years, but you know, I still do, like, I am very much a fucking boomer when it comes to music. Like, of all this shit that you can give boomers, like, boomers tend to have good music. Boomer normies, I like my rock and roll, I like my classic rock, I like my hard rock. And it's something that the boomers do right. But there we go. That was all the tracks of Team Sonic Racing. Out of the Final Fortress ones, I don't actually think I have a favourite. I enjoy all three of those tracks. I'm glad I managed to win them all, so my pride is kept intact. I feel like there's a bit of summary of Team Sonic Racing. I should probably give that, given this is probably the last coverage I'm going to give of this game, at least for a little while. Team Sonic Racing, I feel, is a game that I enjoy a lot. It's a really fun racing game, but it suffers a lot from not being as polished around the edges as All Stars Racing Transformed. All Stars Racing Transformed had a lot more track variety, and it also had far fewer performance issues. So if I were to recommend one of the two to people, I would say go with All Stars Racing Transformed. But if you've played any of those games, or if you just want a new game to just casually play through, if you're as big on these mascot races as I am, then this is still worth your time. Maybe a bit on the expensive side right now, so you might want to wait for a sale, but you know, you do you. It's your money, spend it however you like. I enjoy this game, but it has its faults. And I feel like that's pretty much my summary of Team Sonic Racing. It's fun, but not perfect. And that's pretty much it from me. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to play the main Team Sonic Racing theme here without any talking over it or without any interruptions when the credits play. So I've been the Flameclaw, this has been Team Sonic Racing, and I'll see you next time for another playthrough. Bye bye for now. Power we need.